Welcome back, and this is going to be a fun lesson where we're going to learn about randomizing in JavaScript. And almost every game that you're going to create is going to need to have some way of creating something random happening. And this is also something that is very useful because when we're storing data, we have a lot of data in arrays. So you can reuse this function over and over again within your code as well. So basically, we're calling it shuffle array. We're taking in the array, and then what it's going to do, it's going to return back that array information. So this way, we can basically shuffle any array that we pass into our shuffle array function. So what I wanted to do is quickly do a quick review of JavaScript math. So math is a built-in method in JavaScript, and it gives us the ability to do math. And I'm just trying to do some shortcuts here, but it doesn't seem to be working. So let's just do math random. So whenever we type in math random, we see that we return back a random value. So try it out for yourself. Go ahead and open up your console and just type in uppercase math.random. So see that we're returning back a random number. So this number in itself is really not that useful for us because it's all decimal place and there's a whole bunch of numbers, and now we need to make this more useful. So the way to do that is to take math random and then multiply it. So if we multiply it by 10, we see that we've got these random values, but we still have all of that remaining excess decimal place information. So we see we can go all the way up from 0 dot whatever to 9 dot whatever whenever we're placing this, multiplying it by 10. So this is a great starting point, but we need to cut this number off at the decimal place. And that's where math floor comes in. And you could use math floor or you could use math ceiling. And basically what this does is this gives you the ability to round down those math values. So if we do math floor and then bracket math random and then we multiply it by 10 or whatever number we want, we can see that now we're getting whole numbers, no more decimal places, and we can get random numbers. So this is basically the basis for what we're going to use for our math functionality. And we know that with arrays, we can get the length of the array. So when we console log out our arrays, we can take any one of the arrays that we have. So maybe let's just take the tile images array and let's clear this for now. And we do tile images, we see that we get all of this array information. And down here at the bottom, we've got a property within every array, we've got the length. So we know that if we do tile images and then we get the object information length, or it should be tile images, so that was my mistake there, we can see that we return back that length value from the tile images array. So now we know that if we want to get a random number from what's available within the array, we can use math floor, so the same function that we had used originally, and instead of multiplying it by 10, let's multiply it by tile images. And I got to make sure I add that S in there, so tile images length. And we can see that now what we're doing is we're actually getting a random number anywhere from 0 to whatever the length of that array is. So basically, we're able to pick out a random item from the array. And we know we've got 6 items in the array. Arrays start at a 0 value, so we're getting a number from 0 to 5, and we're returning back that randomly. So now, what I want you to do, pause the video, open up your dev console, and try it out for yourself. First, start by creating some random numbers, anywhere from 0 to 9. And actually, I'm going to issue you a challenge. Try to make that value from 1 to 10 and see if you can do that, returning back a value from 1 to 10 instead of from 0 to 9 using math random and math floor. So go ahead, pause the video, and I'll show you how to do that when you come back. So also take a look at the properties contained within the tile images and check out and pull out the length of your array. So try it out for yourself right now, and I'll show you the solution. So the solution for getting a value from 1 to 10 or 1 till whatever you want, so we can use that same math floor, and let's do the math random. And I know if you're watching with what is showing up here, I already have the solution in there. So we're going to do the math random, and we want to do from 0 to 9. And all we have to do is add +1. So this will actually give us a number from 1 to 10. So we see we've got 10 there. And if we keep doing it, we'll get 1 as well. So we can do 1 to 10. We're not going to get 0, and 9 is no longer our max. So it's as easy as that to add that one extra digit. Or if you wanted to, you can also do math ceiling. So that will round that up, and that will also give us a rounded number all the way rounding up instead of rounding down. So that gives us more flexibility within our math functionality. So now that we've set those parameters, we're ready to use math random, and we can randomize the array. So let's go back into our editor, and I'll show you how this all fits together, all of what we've been doing within the previous part of this lesson where we've been looking at math, because math just plays a really important role within this randomization function. And so does that array property value. So let's create a loop, because what we want to do is we want to loop starting with x, and we're going to loop starting with a value of the array length. So notice that we're passing in whatever array it is, and we're using it as a variable locally within this function, and that's where we're able to pull array length. So it actually doesn't matter what array we place into this function, we're always going to return back. We have an ability to dynamically return back a randomized version of that array. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So that's where we're doing array length. And we also want to initially start it at -1. So the way that we're actually going to be doing this loop, so it's not your typical incrementing loop, we're going to be decreasing the value. So our starting point is going to be the array length. And the reason we need to add in -1 is because, as you know, arrays start at 0. So if we take the array length, we're going to get a value of 6, but the last item in the array is 5, and hence our starting point needs to be the array length -1. So next thing, let's increment, or let's do our condition. So we want to keep this loop going until while x is above 0, and then here we're going to decrease the value of x every time a loop goes through. And then once we finish the loop, then we're ready to return that array. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to come up with a random value for this array. So let's grab this array information, and let's get a random value from the array. So this is where we're going to use the random, and we basically need a value, a variable, local variable that's going to hold this random value. So all we're doing is, just as we saw earlier where we're doing math, and we're going to do math floor and use math random. And we're going to get a random value that's going to be anywhere from x plus 1. So we're going to multiply it by x plus 1. So just as we saw earlier, when we do that, this is actually going to return back a random value. And let me console log that out so we can take a closer look at what's actually happening here within this loop. And what I also want to do is I'm going to put that shuffle array, and let's we need to, after we build the tile array, we need to shuffle it. So we're going to shuffle that tile array, and then we're going to output that tile array. So whenever we hit start, that's going to initialize everything. So now let's go see what's actually happening here. We hit start. we see that we've got our array here that we're randomizing. So we start out, we build out the array, and then we're looping through all the values of the array. So we're getting random values, and now what we need to do is we need to assign these random values into the array. So this is the next step where we need to actually grab these random values, the value of them, so that we can place them back into the array in those positions. And as we go down, you're going to see that we're going to cover off all the values that are within the array. All we're doing is just resorting those values. So again, we can see that once we click that, we've got random returned entries here that we're going to be depositing into the array value within the holder. So let's go back over here. And as we're shuffling through the array, let's pick up the array value. So the item value that's contained within the array, that's contained within this spot in the array. So we're getting that X value. And let me show you how we're actually going to be grabbing every single item from the array. So let me show you the item values here as well as we're looping through. So refresh that and go back over here. And we see that we're hitting all of those items. So we're going 654321, 65432. So we're able to loop through all the items that are available within the array. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to overwrite. So we're going to do array X. So we're overwriting that spot with array X. With the value that's within the array and now within our random number. So this is giving us a random assignment that's contained within our array. And now, lastly, so there's one other thing that we need to do. We need to assign a new value. So basically what we're doing is we're just shifting things around within here, because now we've taken this value and we've assigned it over here. So now we need to take the value that we've assigned so we don't have any more duplicates, and we need to reassign it with whatever item we picked up here earlier. So basically what's happening here is we're just doing a quick swap. We're swapping this one with that one, and then swapping that one again with the original one that we had here. So basically swapping two items, and it's swapping the spots of those two items. And then lastly, we're going to return back that value of the array. So I know this lesson did get fairly complex, but you can see that now every time I'm initiating this, that we do see that we get a different value for the array. So I can fire off that start game. So let's try that out now. So we're going to fire off start game function, and we can see that so in order to call a function within the console, make sure you do the rounded brackets. So we see we've got that started there, and we've actually, because we've already assigned a value for the gameplay, so we need to assign that to false. And then here is where we need to start game. So that we see that every time we run that start game, we're rebuilding that array and we're re-randomizing the content of that array. So the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to start building out the game board, because this is looking really blank and we need to get some content in there. So I'll show you how to do that coming up. And in the meantime, go into your editor and practice working with the math random and practice getting comfortable with working with arrays. And again, all we're doing over here is we're taking one value, we're assigning a new value to it, a random value, and then we're taking that random value and assigning that original value to it. So basically doing a quick swap as we shift through the array.